Please join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. Welcome to the March 19th, 2018 Bryan City Council meeting. First on our agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes from the February 5th, 2018 council meeting. Council, you should have them in front of you.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Lynn?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes. Next on the agenda is hearing of public concerns. Okay, we shall move on. Next is the city clerk treasurer's report.
The council's been presented with the clerk treasurer's report for the month ending February 28th, 2018.
I move that we
Oh, go ahead.
I move that we accept.
Second.
Rick?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes. Number 4 on the agenda this evening is a resolution. Lori, would you please number and read?
Resolution number 9, 2018. A resolution to accept a $75,000 donation from the Bryan Area Foundation to the Parks and Recreation Department for a recreation park pedestrian leisure pathway. Who's a mouthful?
As most of you are aware, the Parks and Recreation Department has been awarded a Bryan Area Foundation grant in the amount of $75,000 to do a pedestrian pathway in Recreation Park. The pathway will be on the east side of Newdale, all the way down to Mayberry, and then circle around to the north side of Mayberry. It'll be 8 foot wide, and then we will try to encourage all pedestrians that use the park to kind of get off the roadway and use the pedestrian pathway.
Where is it going to start on Newdale? Right.
Well, we are going to start right at the tennis court. Right there, Roger Burkholder's bench is right up in there. And there's a sidewalk that comes down through there, so it'll start right up in that area and then head south.
Down to where the new road stops? That's where you'll be stopping?
We will go as far as the money and the bids allow us to go.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually have a designed pathway that goes all the way around the park. So as far as we can go, we'll go, and then from there we'll pick up and try to do the rest of it as time allows and money allows.
Mr. Sprout has a comment.
Oh, you kidding me?
Yes, Mr. Sprout?
And will that be for bicycles also?
Yeah, yep. That's why we went with the 8 foot wide. The hope would be is that, you know, you could use it with bikes, roller blades, anything you see kind of out in the pedestrian, out in the roadway now. We would hope to kind of, our greatest fear, Tom, is that, you know, during the summer months, there's a lot of cars out there and people coming and going. And you see a lot of families trying to use the roadway as their mode of transportation, whether it be on a bike or walk or, you know, whatever it may be. Our hope would be is to get those people off of the road and onto the pedestrian pathway to eliminate the chance of something tragic happening between vehicle and pedestrian.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend.
I'll second.
Rick?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Lynn?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Your work. Great.
Number 5 on the agenda is a resolution. Lori, would you please number and read?
Resolution number 10, 2018, a resolution providing for the establishment of a new fund. We'd like to create fund number 420 for the water main replacement at South Walnut, East South Street. It's a water main project that's being put on by the Board of Public Affairs and Bryan Municipal Utilities. It should be commencing in the near future. The bid has been awarded. So we need to set up and establish a construction fund as they're gonna go through the OWDA for a loan.
Make a motion to suspend.
Second.
Lynn?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Move that we adopt?
I'll second.
Rick?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes. Next on the agenda, we have an ordinance. Lori, would you please number and read?
Ordinance number 9, 2018, an ordinance providing for the transfer of funds for the city of Bryan for the month ending March 31st, 2018. This is a transfer request of $200,000 from the 202 income tax fund to the 101 general fund for general spending purposes. A transfer of $100,000 from the 0.5% income tax fund to the 305 police fire building debt retirement fund. A transfer of $265,000 from the fire department fund to the 305 police fire building debt retirement fund, and a transfer of $200,208 from the water fund to the new 420 water main replacement fund. Total amount of transfer requested is $765,208. I would like to add that the payment being made on the debt retirement fund is for the police fire building, and after this year's payments are made, we will be at $3,565,000 remaining on the building. So we began that debt in 2011, and we'll have it taken care of by 2031, but that's where we're at so far.
I move to suspend.
I'll second.
John?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Move to adopt?
I'll second.
Rick?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes. Number 7 on the agenda is another ordinance. Lori, would you please number and read?
Ordinance number 10, 2018, an ordinance providing for annual appropriations for the city of Bryan for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2018, and declaring an emergency. This is an appropriations request for $75,000 for the 101 General Fund Parks and Recreation Department for the Recreation Park Pedestrian Pathway. An appropriation request of $454,208. This is for the project construction for the water main replacement project on East-South Walnut. And a negative appropriation of $176,027.96. This is in the water department for the water main replacement project, as we had originally budgeted for that project in the 502 water fund. Now that we're setting up a special construction fund to borrow the money, we're gonna go ahead and do a negative appropriation and start reducing down the 502. We're gonna leave $254,000 available in the 502 until the loan is approved by OWDA, and then we'll go ahead and collapse on the 502 project. Total amount of appropriation requested, $353,180.04.
I move to suspend.
I'll second.
John?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
I'll move to adopt.
Second.
Lynn?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes. Number 8 on the agenda is another ordinance. Lori?
Ordinance number 11, 2018, an ordinance establishing a furtherance of justice fund in an amount not to exceed $30,000.
Council, in 2001, there was a ordinance establishing a furtherance of justice fund for the police department. It was capped at $20,000. This fund is used for investigative purposes for the cost of investigations for the man unit, for us to be part of the man unit. What I'd like to do is ask, because of the increase in investigation costs, I'd like to get that cap raised to $30,000.
What's the biggest piece of that increase? Yeah, well, what's kind of pushing the increase?
The man unit
Yes,
cost.
okay, okay. All right. I move to suspend.
I'll second.
John?
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Judy.
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Mary,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Judy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 9 is another ordinance. We're putting you to work, Lori.
There we go. Ordinance number 12, 2018, an ordinance authorizing the Bryan Fire Department to purchase 25 self-contained breathing apparatus, SCBA, with 25 spare cylinders and miscellaneous parts from Fire Safety Services Incorporated, Huntsville, Ohio, for a total cost of $155,079.
Good evening.
Good evening.
March 7th, we had a bid opening for our replacement of the SCBA's that we wear when we go to fires. Fire Safety Services was the only bidder, and I would like to get moving forward on this project. So I'd ask the council to suspend the rules and approve this tonight so we can move forward.
Is that amount generally, I have no frame of reference. If you don't, just say I don't either, but is that $6,200 per, is that
That's
a
normal,
range?
yeah.
Since we only had the one?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good with that. Thank you.
I'll move to suspend.
Second?
Lynn,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Judy.
Yes.
Move to adopt.
I'll second.
Rick,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Judy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is Chief Siders.
Yes, I'm asking council tonight to accept the resignation of Brett Driscoll as a probationary volunteer firefighter with the fire department. In accordance with Ohio Revised Code 737.08, no one can be on a fire department unless they've received their certification within 12 months of appointment. Brett's original appointment date was March 6th. He has not successfully completed his certification, so therefore he has asked to resign from the fire department.
Which certification is that?
Firefighter 1.
Fire 1.
Yes, sir.
And for my education, can it be done very briefly? Like, what is the certification process? A couple of tests over a period of time? Do you have to go to some classes and test out of it?
With Firefighter 1, it is a 160-hour course
Okay.
that we do. We do every other Saturday and Sunday. We started shortly after Labor Day, and this first attempt at the state test was the 24th of February, I believe, if that was a Saturday.
Okay.
He was unsuccessful there, and then he had another attempt.
Okay.
Once again, he was unsuccessful,
Sure.
and then his 1 year came up, so he may come back at a later date. He has until September to take that third and final attempt, so that has yet to be determined. But at this time, he would like to resign.
Council?
I'd like to make a motion to accept resignation.
I'll second.
Rick,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Judy.
Yes. Okay, Chief, you're still up.
I'm still up. Council's been presented a letter dated March 6th. I would like to ask the council accept the removal of probationary firefighter EMT Christopher Stillion as a member of the department, effective March 6th.
I'll move to accept.
Second?
Lynn,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Judy.
Yes.
Next, with the removal of Christopher from the fire department, has created an opening within the department. And per our compliance requirements with the federal grant, we have to fill this position as soon as possible. With that, I would like to ask that council allow us to post for the position for firefighter EMT for the fire department effective immediately.
Do we have a fair number on that civil service list?
Right now, we've got 4 individuals on the list.
Okay. I move that we approve the posting or trying to acquire a replacement for Mr. Stillion.
Second?
Rick,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Judy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, probationary firefighter EMT Elijah Partee has completed his firefighter 2 certification. I would ask that we move Elijah up to $13.09 an hour, which is equivalent to another firefighter having the same exact certification. Elijah came to us. He was in class. He hadn't finished yet, so I couldn't start him at the same rate as someone else. So I'd like to get him up to where he belongs.
Also move.
I'll second.
John,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Judy.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have one more.
I think this is the last one. Volunteer firefighter Reed Thompson also completed his firefighter 2 certification, and I have his card on file. And in accordance with the volunteer pay ordinance from 2006, allows Reed to move up to pay range 8 in accordance with that. So I'd like to get that done effective March 12th, since we didn't have a council meeting.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Lynn,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Judy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we will have the, go around the room, and then we'll have the Chief Siders and, or, excuse me, Chief Willis and Mr. Wygant come up and give their reports. So, Ben, do you have anything else? Chief Willis? No? Okay. Chief Siders does. Yes, okay.
I'm back. On Wednesday, March 21st at 9:50 a.m. is the statewide severe weather warning test. The sirens will be going off at 9:50, and this is a good time for everyone to practice their severe storm sheltering programs that they may have in place. So when you hear the sirens go off at 9:50 on Wednesday, that's what it's for, statewide. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Maynard? Mr. Sproul? Mr. Whalen?
I would just like to say thanks to the Bryan Area Foundation for the generous grant. With my proximity being close to the parks, and I'm down there usually about every day during the summer, I can attest that that is something that's been needed for quite some time. I think that's really a nice move for the community. I think that'll be well used and well needed. So thanks for that. I think that's it.
Mr. Betts?
Ditto. Both the Bryan Area Foundation, much appreciated. Any improvement in the city, and that's a big one. And to Benji and his staff for the work behind that. So I think it's a great thing. And for those who may not have gone to the school safety thing, you missed a very good presentations, and something I think that is going to continue to be with us for a while. And I appreciated the school and Chief Willis and Mayor Schlade's participation and involvement, and look forward to a continuation of that.
I also would like to thank the Bryan Area Foundation for the donation, and also remind everyone that the Saver program is at New Era on March 29th at 8 o'clock, and that's from 8 to 10. And that's what to do in case you do have an active shooter in your area of employment or in a school. So I encourage people to register with the Bryan Area Chamber of Commerce to attend that. Thank you.
I have nothing today.
Okay. I think the same thing. We thank them for helping with this sidewalk, which is going to be used a lot, especially in the summertime. So we thank them for that. Okay, now we're going to have some report. Oh, excuse me. Yes, would you like to?
I have a lot.
Oh, maybe that's why I didn't ask you.
Maybe that is why. You're so smart. First of all, there is no Board of Public Affairs meeting tomorrow. They had rescheduled theirs for last Thursday so that they could work on their water project in sequence for our council meeting tonight. So please don't show up at the utilities office at 5 tomorrow. I would like to sincerely thank my council for going to the community forum. It was so special to have you support everyone there, and the school board does have a meeting tonight. I am gonna expect a call from Superintendent Savage sometime this week so that we can, I'll communicate with you what the school board is where their line of thinking is for moving forward. I would also like to thank Bryan Municipal Utilities for recording and spreading that for those that could not be in attendance, and Chief Willis for joining me on the panel. Also, let me get this up. I'm sorry, I had the police report up. We have the Easter Bunny coming to town. I know, that's so exciting. Saturday, March 24th in the Bryan Elementary School gym at 10 a.m. This is for kids ages 9 and under to come. There will be treats, obviously the Easter Bunny, and this is a well-attended, well-run event sponsored by the Captain, I will take care of that. I'm speaking right now. Sponsored by the Bryan Parks and Rec. I'd like to thank Cindy Rao. I'm sure Ben would too. She puts a lot of work into this. And to bribe me to talk about it tonight, she left me a Reese's peanut butter egg on my desk. So if you have children ages 9 and under, please attend this, again, March 24th in the elementary gym. Next, city pickup for garbage will be on Good Friday, Friday, March 30th. The city offices will be closed in observance for Good Friday. I'd like to thank the street department for making sure that they are keeping up on the trash pickup for us on their day off. And that is all, Ms. Yaris.
Okay. Chloe, do you have anything?
No, ma'am.
We'll now have the year-end reports. Who do you have up there to go first?
I have Chief Willis.
Okay.
This is the annual report for the police department 2017. If you have any questions during the presentation, just ask at that time. Okay, in 2017, we investigated 274 car crashes, issued 1,238 citations with 2,997 traffic warnings. We handled 2019 911 calls, 70,957 radio calls. That's from anything that the dispatchers get on the radio, call either police officers, fire department. Handled 45,285 telephone calls. And then 10,275 calls for service, which is anything that is a report is made on. That is our the different, like the chief of police, the captain, and then it goes on down, administrative assistant, internal affairs, on down to the sergeants, patrol officers, dispatchers. Appointments for last year, we had Officer Jesse Barrera as a police officer, 2 dispatchers, Jennifer McGowan and Abigail Weller. We had 3 resignations: Reserve Morgan Hughes, dispatcher Angela Davis, dispatcher Haley Schmidt, and a retirement was our dispatcher records clerk Donna Distel. That was our roster for the employees, the 3 sergeants, patrol officers, dispatch records clerk, 4 dispatchers. There should be 4 reserve officers. We only have 3 listed there, and then a police chaplain. Community Relations, Paul Zawodny at this time is the Community Relations Officer. He handled 28 programs, 9 meetings, 3 police fire department tours, 2 emergency response drills, and then the programs is listed there of what he takes care of every year. We had 5,520 followers on Facebook, 1,435 on Twitter, and then our webpage. Bicycle patrol, we have 4 bicycle officers at this time. They rode a total of 46 hours, 116 miles. They handled 9 complaints, 10 assists, 3 criminal charges, 2 traffic warnings, and 14 community relation hours. Our police chaplain, he does a lot of riding with the officers. He comes up, talks to the dispatchers. He also provides counseling for any officers that may need it, and also for any family members, victims at crime scenes. Our training, last year we had a state mandated 20 hours training per officer, and it was focusing on the trauma, policing, practical application force. We had a total of 1,382.5 hours of training with all the officers. They were recertified in the use of stationary radar, moving radar, and then of course our firearms qualifications. Captain Chapa attended an 11-week executive leadership course through the Department of Public Safety. Our police fleet, we have 11 vehicles, 6 are marked patrol cars. That includes 1 K-9 car. We have 2 unmarked detective cars, unmarked school car, which is shared by a few of the other departments in the city, and then an unmarked captain's car, unmarked chief car. Vehicle maintenance, we had a total maintenance cost of $13,250. Maintenance cost per mile driven was 7 cents per mile. Total miles on the fleet was 202,510 miles. Fuel usage, 11,432 gallons. That's supposed to be 2017 fuel cost. Was $24,200, which totaled the cost per mile driven was 12 cents per mile. Dispatch operations, they handled 2019 911 calls, 70,957 radio calls, and why that is down so much from 2016 is we now have computers in our cars, and a lot of the radio traffic that the officers used to do with dispatchers, some of the stuff they can do over the computer now, so it eliminates some of that dispatch time. Traffic enforcement. Of course, I said earlier, we had 1,238 citations. That includes OVIs, both adult and juveniles. We were also the first agency to switch over to e-citations run by the Ohio Law Enforcement Information System, and that is the e-citations are citations done over the computer. They get sent directly to the state and to the court, so it eliminates paper copies. Accidents investigated, we had 1 fatal, 24 injury crashes. Non-injury, we had 249. Parking tickets, we had 34. Alcohol breath tests, A total of 198 tests were taken using the BAC Data Master at the police department. Out of those, 78 were administered by officers of the Bryan Police Department. The OVI arrest by Bryan Police in 2017 was 78, 16 was 56, so there was an increase there. And the OVI tests administered by the department, we had 78 for Bryan, OSP was 35, Williams County Sheriff's Office 18, and other departments were 20. K-9 unit, that's his stats there. Assists arrest with 2, other agencies 10. He did 7 demos. Narcotic finds, he had 12 marijuana, 7 meth, 1 shrooms, and 48 vehicle sniffs. Article searches 2, building search 3, tracks, he did 5. He had 15 training days with a total of 96 hours. Detective's office, this is all the cases that the detectives investigated themselves. This isn't any that the officers investigated. They did 167 investigations. They cleared 141 of them for clearance rate of 84%. CVSA truth verification machine was run 6 times. Evidence, we received 295 items into evidence and either destroyed, returned, or converted over to police use, 222 items. That is a breakdown of the investigations for the department. Of course, theft is always runs high. We had 51, and sexual assaults came in next to that at 29. Man unit, he handled 108 cases with an additional 166 complaints, 18 probation permission searches, 6 meth labs, dump sites investigated, search warrants, he had 31, 53 people arrested for 205 charges, 12 overdose cases, 3 of them being fatals. And that is a breakdown of the cases that the man unit officer worked and the different degree of felonies that the arrests were made out of. And that just continues. Reserves, like I said, we got 4 reserve officers. They do crowd controls, they work the Jubilee Parade, Day in the Park. They have monthly meetings, they work the fireworks. They worked 369.5 hours in 2017. And that is just a graph for calls for service for the year compared to prior years. A graph for daily calls for service, Friday and Saturday being the highest out of the week. And then calls for service hourly, which you can see from the graph, starts to pick up about 2 p.m. when people are getting out of work and runs right up until about midnight, 4 p.m. being the busiest time for calls. And that is it. Do you have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Wastewater treatment, Mr. Mangap.
Good evening. Well, after Chief Willis This is probably going to be a real letdown. This is my first round here, so go easy on me.
You'll be fine.
Say the same thing that the chief said, and if any questions come up as we go, just jump right in there, and we'll cover them as we can. The presentation that I have tonight is really just going to be pictures of the construction project, because that's the big action going on. At a wastewater plant, steady state and balance is what you're after, so I could throw some graphs up there if you want, but it would just be a flat line across the board. Suffice to say, the only real changes that we've had over the year, Superintendent Rick Homeyer retired last year, and I moved up into his position. He was here 29 years, so that's probably the most significant thing outside of the construction project that happened there. So we did hire a couple of new guys in. We got Jeff Warner, Jason Mannon came over from the fire department, and Joel DeLong came over from the fire department. Joel has since moved back to the fire department, but that's the personnel changes. We lost about half of our crew last year, so everybody's kind of settling back in at this point. Half the crew has been there for a long time, half the crew is new. Those guys are all coming along really well. We're really happy with the progress that they're making. So that being said, we'll go right over to the screen here.
You know what? You're all right.
Oh, wrong button. There we go.
Click it one more time. There was a blank. There you go.
Okay. First picture that we're looking at here, and this was one of the more complex ends of the construction project, was the rehab of the digesters that we have there. And what you're seeing is the crane pick of the secondary digester lid, and that's a 70-foot diameter tank. That's a steel lid, and basically what that is a gas holder. Think of it as an upside-down bowl in a bucket of water, and we store methane gas underneath that we use to burn through our boilers to heat the other two digesters that are also being rehabbed. That particular chunk of iron right there weighs 208,000 pounds, and there was a total on that lift there of that was 440 tons of crane lifting capacity. And because of the angle that we had to lift at there, it was every bit of what those machines could do to get that off. It's a really complex lift to do. They spent a lot of time getting ready for it, and it was really impressive to see when the time came and they took it off of there. And I know Judy was there when we put it back on, and she stood out in the cold with us and stayed there for the whole thing. So she deserves a little credit for that too, and notification. This is, they're setting that same lid down on the cribs there. And the wooden cribs, the reason it's there is you can see the roller guides at the bottom of that lid. And basically what that lid does is it's in roller guides, and as the liquid level is removed from the tank, that lid just kind of screws itself down in there and back out. The purpose is to keep it from getting jammed. Because of the size of it, it would multiply, a very low gas pressure that we use, but it would multiply to a degree that it would fold that lid up. So they had to build cribs underneath of it to get it up in the air so they could do some work. And that's what you see right there. It's a little tougher to see in that picture, but that's that lid landed on the cribbing. This is the corrosion inside of the lid, and what this does is demonstrate that the money we're spending right now was right on time. We knew what we were getting into. We expected to find it. That's mostly surface corrosion, and there really wasn't a lot of steel repair in that lid. It was done at a proper time that they were able to sandblast most of that off. It's a closer look at a roller guide there, and you can kind of see the section loss in the steel there. Those are the kind of things that, when they're neglected at a wastewater plant, those things go from being a $250,000 repair to a $2 million repair once things start to really collapse in. It's another shot of some support struts there on that same lid. That was some of the worst metal corrosion that we came across, and we ended up making a small redesign when we had the welders in there to reestablish the connection. And did it in a way that we feel will get a little more mileage out of the coatings this time around. So hopefully it'll be 30 years again and we won't have any issues. This is a shot of the finished lid after it's been coated and it's being set back in on its way down. And that's when it's parked on the corables, which are basically just concrete stops that the lid sets on when everything's empty. This is the inside of that 70-foot diameter tank. And if you'll notice the two guys in yellow down there about center screen, what they're doing is applying a skim coat of an epoxy concrete onto the wall with the purpose of kind of sealing the wall up. Once we got in there and got the coating, the old coating blasted off the wall, we found that there was a lot of honeycombing in the concrete. And Sherwin-Williams, who supplies the coating system that was to go back in there, just didn't feel that it was appropriate to go ahead and just cover that honeycombing with their material, because they didn't feel that they could realistically tell us that it was going to be a 25 to 30 year coating system. And so that cost a little bit of money, which it was money well spent. It wasn't a ton of money. We had extra built into the project budget in case we ran into something like that. And the coating that we had to do is going to be well within that budget number. It does push us towards the top of that number, but it was a necessary evil, so we did go ahead and do it. And those guys, those two guys coated that entire tank in about a week and a half. And I mean, they worked hard on that, and it was 90 degrees out when they were doing that work. It was pretty brutal, and those guys just stuck right with it.
How many digesters do we have?
We got 3 total, 2 primaries and 1 secondary, and that one was the secondary digester that we're looking at there.
So how if that's good for 25 to 30 years, how about the other 2?
Same coating, yep, same thing.
So are they up soon, or?
We've got one lid out right now. The west digester we've got taken down. We're basically at the beginning of what you're looking at here. Was kind of halfway through the project and on, and we're basically at the beginning with that west primary digester right now. So we've got it out. We've got it on the cribbing in the yard. The painting contractor is actually staging today and tomorrow, and they'll probably start sandblasting within a day or 2. And then we'll really be able to see like what the condition of them are, that particular lid. It looks pretty rough. It's not outside of what we expected to find there, so hopefully we won't get any great big surprises on the operation for this one. So,
okay, thank you.
What we're looking at here is the ultraviolet disinfection system that we had to put in, and we had to do that for the EPA. We're switching from a fecal coliform colony count, which is a measure of the bacterial load in the effluent that leaves the plant, and we're switching from that, a fecal coliform, which we had used for all of the years that I've been around, and it's going to E. coli because E. coli is a more efficient indicator of that particular load, that bacterial load. And what we found was E. coli is a tough bug to kill, and we've used chlorine for all of these years. And chlorine will do the job. We didn't have enough detention time in our contact tank to effectively kill E. coli. And what we found was, going through it with the engineers and doing our research was, at the end of the day, nobody puts chlorine in anymore just because it's dangerous. It's a gas. Ultraviolet radiation works really well on these bugs. And so the cost to extend the chlorine contact and give us enough time to do the job effectively, once you crunch the numbers, it came out to almost exactly the same as the UV. So it was kind of a no-brainer decision. We just moved up to UV. It's hard to get a good picture of these things because they're so compact the way that they fit into that channel. You can just barely see the light down there, kind of center bottom. That's with the UV lamps on. And the reason they compact them like that is UV, just like a welder, you have to wear a mask. You don't want to look at it, it'll burn the retinas in your eyes. So they build these things stacked up so you really can't look at them by accident. It makes it tough to look at, but what you see there is they're quartz tubes with an ultraviolet lamp on the inside of the tube, and there's 8 of them in a row laying across. There's 3 banks of them, and the water just basically has to flow through them like a grate is what it amounts to, and it splits the water up, and it gets every gallon of water, keeps it within a certain distance of that lamp, so it gets a full dose of UV radiation. And what it does is, the UV radiation does not actually kill the bug. What it does is interrupt its reproductive cycle. So the bugs pass through, they think everything is just fine until they decide to have kids, and then they find out, oh, wait a second, this is not going to work anymore. And we have not gotten back, we've done the testing and the shakeout on this equipment. We haven't gotten back the lab testing yet, the official lab testing. But what we did do was sample right alongside the contractor, and we ran them through our lab, and it looks extremely effective. So we're very happy with what we've seen so far of this equipment.
You have to have a certain flow rate that goes by that to be able to, that's like certain parts per million that have to flow.
There's maximum flows through it, and it's more based on the hydraulic head that's placed against the quartz tubes. 9 million gallons a day is what that's designed around. You can basically go down to 0 if you want to, and that's better. The longer the bugs stay there, the better it is, you know. But 9 million hydraulically is what it can do without causing damage to the equipment. What we're looking at here are launder covers. When you folks have heard us discuss the project, we call it the UV digester / grit project, but this was also part of that project. What a launder is basically the outside of that ring. It's a collection system around a final settling tank, and that's where the water that comes out of the tank is collected, and then that goes to disinfection. Well, one of the things that you have to avoid with the UV lamp systems is algae, because the UV lamp just becomes a grating in there that catches every bit of that algae. Well, these launders happen to be a part of the plant that just love to grow algae, and so it was a necessary thing to put in there. It was kind of a last minute thing. We were looking at a different style of equipment that wasn't a launder, it was more of a brush system, but turned out to be a maintenance nightmare after we did a little research and stopped and talked to a few superintendents at some other plants that had them. So you can see basically all it is, it's a fiberglass cover that goes over those launders, and it starves the algae for sunlight, and it's really effective. Doesn't move, it's just nice and solid and sets there, so there's not a lot of maintenance with it. And that's just completed on both tanks there. This is the grit system. Most of the grit removal system in a wastewater plant, you don't see a lot. You can see pieces of equipment sticking out here and there. This is a pump, and what this does is pump the grit is stones, sand, anything heavy that comes in that's inorganic that comes in a waste stream when it comes into the plant. As you can imagine, running sand through a normal pump, which this particular pump is not, but the reason you want to move it is sand through a normal pump is it's sandblasting that pump on the inside and destroys them really quickly. And so in any case, we had an original grit system there that had failed a few years ago. And here in town, we have not had a lot of grit problems because years ago, the city had gone through and separated their storm sewers from the sanitary sewers. And that really removed a lot of the grit over the years. But what we found is when we had to do the EQ basin project there, the inlet into that basin is a lot lower than the operating level under high flow where we used to be, the elevation of the liquid in the system back up through town. And what we found was lowering that inlet into the pond gave the velocity of the water moving through town a lot, just a speed boost. And what it's done is start to pick up all the really heavy stuff in the system that just didn't move before. And so we're starting to see pretty heavy grit, and we just decided we needed to address this now before it cost us.
So is that a clean out valve, or what, I mean, what?
On the right-hand side there? Yeah, it's exactly what that is. Yeah, we put cleanouts on anything we can find a way to engineer and get in there, and that's exactly what that is, because that goes into a tank that you just can't photograph, but what that does is go into that tank, and there's no practical way to get to the other end of that pipe. So henceforth the clean out there. But what you're looking at there is a pump that's designed to handle this type of material. It creates a vortex in front of the impeller, and so that the sand and the rest of the grit doesn't actually make it into the equipment. It gets kicked out of the equipment before. Replaceable wear parts inside. It's designed around being sandblasted and being easy to repair. So that's what we're looking at there. From that pumps it up to this classifier, and I don't have a laser pointer that works here, but you'll notice the yellow up there, center upper side of the photograph. And basically what that is a vortex-induced ejection of the heavy solids out of the water. The water comes through that at a designed rate, at a designed angle. The heavier stuff gets cast out of the side of it, and then it slides down a chute that you can't see from this direction and drops into the lower unit. The lower unit is just an auger there that basically washes the material clean, and just brings it up to this end to the chute you can see at the bottom there, center bottom. That's going to drop down into a dumpster, then that goes to the landfill. And that's the end of that. Any questions?
That stuff's not, you can't sell that stuff?
The grit?
Yeah,
I don't think anybody would want it.
That's what I wanted to know.
We don't even want it.
I didn't know how to phrase that.
Yeah, no, it's got no commercial
It's
value
written there.
whatsoever.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wes.
Good job, Wes. That's your first year.
Any other questions, council? If not, we'll have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Lori,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Judy.
Yes. Have a good evening. Thank you.